That might help if we actually unmute the mic. This is things you might have heard for Wednesday, April 20th, 2022. A lot of things going on today. So we're going to kind of rush into this at this point in time since we've already wasted 2 minutes of your time. Go to thisistheconversationproject.com to find more details about what's going on at the Conversation Project and get the details on sponsorships and partnerships, all those things. 6 stories today that to get through very quickly, minus the 2 minutes we spent on mute not talking to you guys. So let's get to them right now. Story number 1 is this one. Number 8 ranked player Aaliyah Gales shot 10 times at Las Vegas party. TotalProSports.com gave us that one. We have unfortunately a bunch of stories along these lines. This young lady, Aaliyah Gales, she's a recruit for USC. She's like the 8th ranked player in the class of 2022. So she's pretty damn good. Shot over the weekend at a party 8 times or 10 times at a party over the weekend. This is a very quick thought process. The word would just kind of drop on the fact that we've got all sorts of crazy going on that no one can really understand what the crazy is at this point. Guns and parties and all sorts of whatnots are not exactly what you want. And this young lady who's destined for basketball greatness looks like she's going to be a great player, 8th ranked in the nation, going to USC, already ready to go, injured at the party. Check out the link for this story if this is the sort of thing that sort of is in your mind. We have more child endangerment things going on here. Like I said, when I spoke with no voice with the mute button on a little earlier ago, something that could hit very close to home here coming up in just a moment. But this is a story that probably needs a little more coverage. TMZ Sports got it, but TMZ Sports covers those types of things. This is something that probably needs a little more coverage out there, a little more thought onto a story like this. Let's move to the next story we have this morning. Carjacker brutally beats up Texas grandmother, only to later die in stolen vehicle crash. Independent.co.uk gave us this one. And unfortunately, when I logged back into this one, they're asking for subscribe and stuff like that. So it was free when I got the first read of it. But here's the gist of this story. A 72-year-old grandmother, I'm going to pull it up so I make sure I'm reading the exact age. So it's a 72-year-old grandmother. Her name is Charlene Hernandez. Stopped to grab a drink at a Shell station. She stopped to go get a pop at the Shell station. And then some dudes came up and popped her in the eye and drove off with a car. Literally, just like that. And the ironic part of it, or the convincing part of it, is that a few miles down the road in the chase away of trying to run away with the car crashed, car catches on fire, carjackers die. That's the story. That's it. You can still see the picture of the grandmother, and there's a video, a quick blurb of it going on with the really blackened eye. It's a really nasty looking eye, but it's this is a story that was so just sort of out there that I had to put it in there. Y'all put it in the realm of talking about it. Y'all put it in the range. We'll talk about what the range is and how you vet the stories. But this is one that was just like, wow, the irony of the fact that they jacked grandma for her car is that they died in it moments later while crashing said car. And we're going to move on. Like I said, we're a bit behind. Let's move on to the next story. Missing Arkansas teen found after $10,000 ransom demand. KRK.com is where we pulled this from. And this is one that literally my phone kept going off, and everyone's phones kept going off all day yesterday with this Amber Alert. Amber Alert for a teenager missing a little after 10 o'clock in the morning. This being resolved, I think about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Short version of the story is a teenager was walking out of of her job at 10 in the morning with a coworker walking to basically go get the car and take her home. Another lady comes out and asks to borrow her phone because she needs to do something to get a hold of someone and needs directions to her GPS, her car, so that they can get picked up. The coworker, the older person, the adult, leaves to go back and get her car and come back to get the teen. And they're both gone when she gets back there. Amber Alert is out there all day. We're finding out stuff. The mother of the teen was able to call her a few times, and she kept saying, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And then one more time she calls, and there's a man's voice on behind her, and she takes the phone away and asks for $10,000, or the girl will be killed. They knew they had an idea of the car because the lady had a good semblance of getting the license plate number of the car that the other lady was stopped by, and they're able to get the teen safe in Hot Springs and later in the afternoon. They're still apparently looking for the car, and still apparently looking for some of the dudes involved with this. But this is a scary, scary situation that needs a bit more attention going forward. If you have teenagers, if you have young kids, especially if you have teenagers, you got to remind them that they can't just trust random people like this, because things like this actually happen. This could turn out much, much worse, and we're so glad it did not. But like I said, this is a story that played out in real time over the Amber Alert of our phones that just kept going off and off all day long. First when they announced the Amber Alert, then when they announced the vehicle, and then other issues until it was called off in the middle of the afternoon. This could have been a whole lot worse. Mel Kiper Jr. announces he won't attend the 2022 NFL draft because he's unvaccinated. Cites medical history. TheBigLead.com is on this one. And this is something that's not a anti-vaxxer weirdo stuff. Mel Kiper Jr. has a history of medical ailments that allows him to get out of stuff like this, but it doesn't allow him to show up for stuff like this. So he is unvaccinated. He's going to do the draft from his home office. And I think it's something like some weird large number of drafts, like his 39th or 40th time sitting in an NFL draft doing this for ESPN. Maybe not ESPN. ESPN may be 40 years old. Who knows? But this is the first time he's not going to be there. Last year or 2 years ago, they had a correspondent who caught COVID and did not show up. This time, Mel Kiper Jr., because he has medical issues and does not get vaccinated because of those underlying issues, is playing it safe, staying at home, doing the job from remotely on purpose. You can, shout at him or hype him up as you want to. This is not a anti-vaxxer thing. He literally has legit medical issues that things like vaccines and other things he does not allow to get into his body because of that. Let's go on to another story. And this is John Dalys Son. Now, the NIL, the deals that college players can get so they can make some money, is a kind of cool thing. It also may be a bit of a Pandora's box that they're not quite sure this opens yet. Here's one that's just, was so silly it had to fit. John Dalys Son, who is John Daly II, I believe. He'd only played in one college golf tournament so far, so he's barely a college athlete. Signed his NIL deal with Hooters. Now, before you go all wild with the John Daly and Hooters stuff, remember, Hooters is actually a very big sponsor of golf tournaments and has been for quite some time. There's actually a minor league tour of golf, if you will, called the Hooters Tour. At least it was back before they sponsored the Hooters Tour, where it was not quite pro level golfers yet playing in tournaments and still playing for money and getting their chance to earn their card to go to the PGA Tour. So this is not a wild swag type of deal, not just because it's John Dalys' son and John Daly's kind of crazy. This is actually something that might actually pay off in the long run. Of course, it's paying off right now because he's getting paid to play golf, but we'll see how this plays out in the future. And because we have to keep up with stuff because we're just nosy, Thandie Newton is having some issues, and they're trying to get her into rehab so that she can fix her issues. Meanwhile, her estranged husband is essentially shoeless and unshaven, and I got the ampersand because I copied the link there. Just living in the house, looking like Robin Williams from Jumanji. What is going on with this family, with this couple? It really is kind of I don't understand at this point, but it's just so much tabloid fodder that we had to put it in there. We talked about Thandie Newton for weeks about, getting kicked off of Magic Mike, basically getting kicked off because she was dealing with she didn't quite gel with Channing Tatum's review of The Slap that heard around the world. She's having issues with her husband. Apparently her husband's having his own issues at the moment. Yeah, it's a whole lot of stuff. Radar Online has the full story for this one. So go check it out. Check out the link inside of the rundown so you can go deeper into the story as well, or just do your own search on the internet because everybody's talking about Thandie Newton all over the place these days. Let's talk about something good. Let's talk about something wholesome. Let's talk about something grand. We're going to go to our teaser story that may pop up tomorrow. If you guys choose this is one that's worthy of chatting up, we will chat it up. The story reads like this, or headline at least. Candace Cameron Bure leaves Hallmark and signs deal with GAC Media, including Christmas programming. Candace Cameron Bure, the queen of Christmas programming for Hallmark, is leaving Hallmark apparently and going to another media company who's fighting its own battle to do the Christmas thing and other wholesome type movies. If this is a story we're talking about tomorrow, you will make it. So you need to do your thing and do your thing. We'll talk about what your thing is in just a moment. But first, I've got to do my thing and I got to make some bills. I got to pay some money. I got to get some things going. That means we got to talk about a sponsor, that being Blinkist. This is conversationproject.com/Blinkist. This is a conversationproject.com/Blinkist. Brings to you the greatest books you could ever find in less amount of time. In 15 minutes, you can read or have read to you great nonfiction and autobiographies from the Blinkist crew, and they're adding new books all the time. So you can go back into the archives for classic books, or you can wait for the newest books coming out there. A few months ago, I went through the Obama books, both Michelle and Barack, and instead of paying, $800 for the actual binding books and spending 8 months trying to read those things because they're like that, you can get the gist of them in about 15 minutes. Some books that are really, really big, they'll take a bit longer. Actually, The House of Gucci, the actual book it came from, that was a blink that was about 35 minutes or so. But in reality, the actual book would have taken you, about 8 months, at least me. That's how I get a chance to read at least a book a day, sometimes two, every other day, not every morning. I basically listen to a book on the way into work in that 15-minute span. And in the evenings, I listen to a book every night. Last night, I listened to a long form book, so I didn't do it last night. But usually I listen to a 15-minute Blinkist book on the way to bed. And every so often when I'm late for a meeting, I should say waiting for a meeting, but usually when I'm late for a meeting and I'm just sort of waiting to be popped right in, I'll open up the app and I'll read the Blink themselves. They write them out so that you can read them on your own with your actual eyeballs, or you can listen to them and do the cheap, lazy way like I do. Check out this link, which will give you 7 days of the full app at thisisaconversationproject.com/Blinkist, and you'll give us a little change back for signing up. But you're going to love this thing. You're going to wonder how you never, ever, ever lived without this thing. So get in that thing and get yourself some Blinkist. The feeds are on Facebook and Twitter. So if you go to facebook.com/thisisconversationproject and twitter.com/th_conversation, you can help and vet the stories for us. We allow you to check out our feeds. We post the stories that we could possibly talk about every 50 minutes on Facebook and Twitter, and you just engage with them as they pop up and you're doing your thing. Like them, love them, hate them, share them, all that stuff. Our main website is, of course, thisisaconversationproject.com. Check it out for why we're here, what else we're doing, and make sure you stop by our sponsors page to see what other sponsors can help you out, or our partnerships page. If you feel that what we're providing for you is worthy of a couple bucks, I'll take a couple bucks. We'll show you how to give me a couple bucks at the website. This is theconversationproject.com. And you're watching this on a Wednesday, so chances are you are following this on a Facebook feed or the actual YouTube channel. If you're not, and someone just sort of shares this with you, follow us on our official YouTube channel. This is theconversationproject.com/YouTube. Takes you to the official YouTube channel for The Conversation Project. Mondays, we share them out to a larger audience. And then on Tuesday through Friday, we sync it into just the Conversation Project audience. Oh, by the way, the feed stuff. So for Tuesday through Friday, we give you 5 to 6 stories based off the top 15 stories in the range. We get about 30 to 33 stories a day in just posted in the feeds. We take the top 15 and pick 5 or 6 from there. On Monday, we get about 90 so stories. We take the top 30 stories and pick about 7 to 9 stories to talk about in that range. So that's how that works out. But you plus the algorithms get a chance to help us pick things on the way for our stories the next day. That's why it's not necessarily Russia, Ukraine. It's other things. Birthdays for the day. Happy birthdays to George Takei, 85 years old, out there doing his thing and battling Shatner because they just sort of hate each other. Clint Howard is 63 years old today, which is odd because I thought he'd be older. Clint Howard, of course, famous for being Ron Howard's brother and being in all of Ron Howard's movies because he's Ron Howard's brother. Also, Joey Lawrence, the more famous of the Lawrence brothers, he is 46 years old today. I thought he'd be older, but he's not. So I don't feel quite as old about Joey Lawrence being 46 because he's not quite as old as I thought he was. Today is 420. And because it's 420, we're going to celebrate both 420 and National Cheddar Fries Day. So get yourself some cheddar fries as you celebrate 420. we're going to leave it at that. One more thing you might not have heard. New research says that as little as 30 minutes of walking can alleviate depression. Now, I think that's a bit of a misleading title, but essentially goes into a little bit of exercise. Just about 30 minutes of exercise a day, of walking as a just simple exercise, can help you with your depressive feelings. Any sort of pumping of the blood, any endorphins rush into your brain will help you with your depression. So if you're feeling down depressed, or you have actual depression, a little bit of exercise can help. Now, if you have actual dealings that are serious depression that's lasting more than a few hours, more than a couple of days, try to speak to someone, try to reach out to someone, talk to your doctor, and try to basically have conversations to work those things out. Or maybe it might be something that could be a true chemical imbalance. But if your first thing is, I'm not feeling so great, start with a walk about 30 minutes and see if that helps out. Today is still, as I'm recording this, Wednesday, April 20th, 2022. These are things you might not have heard for this day. I'm still Jay Cleveland Payne. Big ups to my live audience today, to Miss Georgia. Thank you so much for doing all you do. Saw her last night with the kids at the chess club, and a great meeting at the chess club. Christina with a K, my beautiful wife, is on as well, which means we'll probably both be late for work today. And Big O, thank you so much for the comments. Of course, you know how this works out. It's all coffee and cigarettes. It's all coffee and cigarettes. That's how it works. Thank you so much for joining us for this. If you're joining us in the future, just drop a comment on whatever platform you're watching this in, and we'll give you some shout outs later on in the future, I guess. And remember, our feeds are going out 24/7. We're posting a news story literally every 50 minutes, all day, all night. Make sure you are checking them out when you're checking your regular stuff, and just engage with the stories. The more engagement a story you give to it, the higher chance we get a chance to talk about it come the next day. Tomorrow being Thursday. A lot of things going on, and as O has mentioned, some voice issues going through. So we're going to suck down another mug of tea, take your time getting into work, and hopefully rest this thing up so we can make it through the rest of the week. A lot of things happening, and a lot of shouting that must be done at the soccer fields this weekend. So we must have the voice so I can be the horrible, terrible, mean old coach for the 10-year-olds, because if I'm not, they might not pay attention. We'll talk to you again tomorrow with more news stories, great stories, not so great stories, great sources, not so great sources, and all over the place. So thank you so much for being a part of the family, News Nerds, and we're going to do this again, voice willing. And if you hear that rain coming through my microphone, creek don't rise, tomorrow.